So if you know here, as we know, male reproductive system will produces semen, and the female reproductive system will used to produces what? Eggs, or we can say ova. So now, as I said, as I told you every time. So now we are having totally how many female reproductive system is having how many? Two ovaries. Yes. So now every month the egg is released from any one ovary only. So at a time, it is not possible to release two eggs because every month only one egg is released by the any one of the ovary. If this time, if it is left ovary, it is releasing the egg. Next time, next definitely the egg is released by right ovary only. Then only again the next coming time only the left ovary used to produce the egg. Are you understand what I'm saying? So now if you'll notice it here, for example, let us imagine here in this picture, if you'll see, if the egg is released by the ovary, then the egg will entering into the help of funnel of oviduct, it will start entering into the where a fallopian tubes. That is what we used to call as oviduct. Now, during that time, if the sperms are released, understand the if the during the mating, the sperms are released into the female reproductive body, and they will entering to the vagina only. That is what I said, a separate vaginal opening for the reproduction. And through that, the sperms are released and they will start swimming inside the female reproductive body, and they will start entering into the oviduct or fallopian tubes. Both the side they will enter because they don't know, they don't have any eyes and all. So now, once they will find the egg in between their way, and during the when they are moving in the oviduct or else fallopian tubes, what will happen? The internal fertilization will take place because it is inside the body it is taking place. That is what we used to say internal types of fertilization I told you. So the fertilization which will carried out in human beings is internal fertilization. So the sperms made in the testes of man is introduced into the, or else it is ejected into the vagina of a woman through the penis during copulation, or else we can say mating. So in this way, the millions of sperms are released into this vagina at the same time. Okay, but the sperms are highly active and they are very moving. That is what we used to say mobile. They will with the help because of semen is helping for them to swim easily, so that they will move much faster. So these sperms move upward. Once it is ejected by the male reproductive system, they will move upward through the cervix bone. This is what we used to call as here. That is what it is called as, what it is, guys? Cervix bone. Okay, so they will start entering into the vagina at same time. So they will move into the uterus. From the uterus, the sperms will passes into where? The sperms will passes into the oviduct. So in any side, if this side the egg is released, here the fertilization will take place. If this side egg is released, in this oviduct the fertilization will be carried out. So here one of the oviducts only will release the egg at a time. So once the egg is released, that is what the period we used to call as the releasing of egg is only overing. That is what we used to call as ovulation. Understand? So this ovulation is not taking place. It is not possible to take place the fertilization. So this oviduct, then what is happening? They will start the ovum, or else the egg cell released by the ovary. They will that during the ovulation. That is what the period we used to call as ovulation. So these egg also will start moving into this oviduct or fallopian tubes. So where the first sperm will reaches to the egg, it will start breaking the shell up like egg. Normal egg which is having a upside is having some kind of a thick surface. Is it yes or no, guys? Please respond. A matured egg, how it will be there? A white color shell will be there. Yes, normal egg I am asking. Please respond. And inside a yellow color one is present, and outside it is having some white color one. Have you seen it? Normal egg I am asking. I am not asking human egg. Yes. So the same way the human egg is also, the female reproductive egg is also present. So the moon, like we used to say in Tamil, I don't know. This middle yellow color will be present. That is what we used to call as. What we used to call? What we used to call, guys? Nucleus we used to say. Understanding? And this outside one is only called as what? Cytoplasm. Do you understand, everyone? So that is what. So more cytoplasm is present in the egg, which will be providing nutrition, everything for the this nuclear fertilization. So what the sperm, once it will reaches, the first sperm will reaches to the first it is, then immediately it will start hitting this shell, and it will break this shell, and it will entering into the inside this nucleus. So there the fertilizer immediately, once the one sperm is entering into this egg, so immediately the remaining shell will become very hard, so that another sperms will never break it, and it is not possible to take place the again the second type of fertilization. So that is what it will carried out in the human beings. So once the first sperm will releases inside, if it is touch the egg, then it will break the egg shell and will go inside for the further process, and remaining the shell, complete the shell will become very hard once the fertilization will takes place. So now, as we know, during that only the nucleus of the sperm will go inside, and the tail of that, what is the tail is called as? What is the name of the tail of the sperm, guys? Nobody?
Flagellum.
Yeah, flagella. So these flagella will be outside only. So it is only will helpful for swimming the sperm. That's all. And the remaining sperms and all, after that time period, they used to die. That's all. So usually the life of the egg is 24 hours, and the human sperm is used to survive around 3 days. That is what 72 hours it is used to survive. So that is the lifespan of the female and as well as male reproductive cells. So this female, this is the male, and this is female reproductive cell is only need to survive 24 hours. So this is 3 days, around 72 hours it is used to survive. So this is what it will takes place. So now one sperm fuses with the ovum. That is what I said. So immediately the oviduct to form a zygote immediately here. So the remaining outer shell will become very hard, so that another sperm will reach and it cannot break that shell again. So this is only we used to called as. So the sperm will reaches inside the nucleus of egg. So that is what we used to called as. What is that called as, guys? The fused egg is only called as. Egg will be fused now. That is what we used to call as. What is that? Zygote, or we can say fertilized egg. Okay. So now, then the fertilization of the ovum takes place inside this oviduct only. That is what we can say. Fallopian tubes are very important. So next, we are studying the birth control methods, how to prevent this pregnancy and all. So there they will cut this fallopian tubes only to not to takes place the fertilization. That we will study there, how it will be taking place and all. So this is what we used to call as fertilization process. So how the fertilization will take place? Once the male reproductive system will eject the semen into the female reproductive system, they will start entering to the vagina, and vaginal to the cervix bone to the where uterus, and uterus to the fallopian tubes or oviduct. So by the time during the ovulation, the egg is released by the ovary, any one of the side of the ovary. So now the first sperm which will reaches to the egg, which will break the shell of the ovary egg, and it will entering into the inside the nucleus of the egg, and it will fuses itself. That is what we used to call as fertilized egg. Okay. And this fertilization will takes place in oviduct. That is what we can say, a place where the fertilization will takes place is used to called as fallopian tubes. So now egg is fused or it is fertilized. So now let us see how the further process will take place. Now once if it is formed, fertilized egg is over, then what will form, guys? Egg is fertilized. That is what we used to call it as zygote. So now zygote will develop into what? Please respond. Zygote will develop into what? It will develop into embryo. Yes or no? So now, once embryo will form, then only it will come down along with these fallopian tubes. Slowly the embryo will form. Finally, it will reaches to the walls of the uterus, and it will be stick there, and there only the further development of baby growth and development will take place. Because here a soft and thick lining of uterus you might be see. This is what the location where the egg, the fertilized, the embryo will stick, so that the further development will takes place. Now that is also I will show you. So listen very carefully. Have you understand what is the fertilization, Pershini? So how it will take place? So that is. So now the next one which we used to call it as development of embryo. So please all of you keep a heading development of embryo and as well as implementation of, this is very important, implementation of embryo in the walls of uterus. That is what we used to say. What is implementation? So if you notice it here, this is what we used to call as the development of embryo and as well as implementation. So if you notice it here, we are having a what? A very soft and thick lining of uterus we are having. So here if you'll see, once the egg is fertilized, have you noticed it guys? Both the nucleus become single nucleus. Please respond. This is what the fertilized egg we can say. This is only called as what? Zygote. Okay. So now these zygote, then what will happen? A similar kind of growth cells will form. That is what it will forms. It will form into 2 cells and later it will forms into 4 cells. You might be see the similar kind of cells will form growth and development, and but all are together. Then later it will forms like this. Slowly it will develop into a multiple number of cells because we are complex structure. So these multiple cells, that is what we used to call as, what is that known as called as guys? It is only called as embryo. Understand? So these embryo you will see here, slowly it will be taking place, and you remember this process of formation of new cells, similar kind of cells, this is what we used to call as mitosis. What we used to call? Mitosis. Understand? And also during the cell division only, also this fertilized egg, slowly it will start moving towards to the uterus. So finally at certain stage it will reaches to the uterus, walls of the uterus. By this time hundreds of cells used to form. Understanding? Hundreds of cells used to together, but there is no formation of body parts and all. Understand? So this is all usually will takes place within the 1 to 2 months. Understand? That is what, from the 3rd month only the baby will start developing into the individual organs. So till that hundreds of cells will form. So now this is only the hundreds of cells together. That is what we can say is a ball. Looks like a ball, correct? So it's all the cells are together and they are continuously by mitosis. So that is what we used to call as embryo. So the structure of embryo is hollow ball of cells we used to call as. So these cells only we used to known as embryo, and these embryo will start sink into this orange color layer. You might be see here this orange color layer, which is what very soft and as well as thick lining of the uterus. That is what, where it is embedded inside or stick inside, or we can say embedded. So now this embedding of embryo in the thick lining of the uterus, that is what we used to call as, what we used to call guys, implantation. Understand? So please write the definition of implantation, everyone. What do you mean by implantation? Aishwarya? Right. The sticking of embryo, or you can say embedding of embryo in the thick lining of the uterus. Embedding means what? Like bullet, you can see 9th class. A bullet is embedded into the wood, means it will penetrate inside the wood. That is what we can say. Here also, the embryo is penetrating inside this soft and thick lining of this uterus. That is what we used to call as implantation. Right. Embedding of embryo in the thick lining of the uterus is called implantation. Now, have you written? Please respond. If you have written, then only we'll see. So now if you notice it, you might be heard in our neighbors or somewhere in our family members and all. Miscarriage. Have you heard miscarriage? miscarriage you might be heard. Because of that, maybe that is what we used to call it as abortion, we can say. Basically, abortions are man-made abortions, artificial abortions are there, and natural abortion will take place. Sometimes automatically the miscarriage will take. That is what we used to say miscarriage. It leads to not the further development of baby. Have you heard? Please respond. After 2 months, 3 months, miscarriage will we used to say. Please respond here.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
that
sir.
is what will take place because of this only. If implantation is not takes place properly, then the developed embryo will start coming outside from the body. That is what it is. It's like a what? It's like a solid ball of blood. Correct or not? Completely. That is what it is. We used to call it as abortion. Okay, so it may take place normally also. So sometimes if you are during this implantation time, if it is if you are working something, or else if you are having some any kind of mental stress or some problems, or else if you are having some kind of thyroid or else something, you can see it is very difficult to get conceived because of this is the problem. So if the implantation is not taking place properly, if it is not embedding into the uterus, so that it will start falling into with the help of that bones called as, what is that bones called as? Cervix bones. It will come out from the vagina. So that is only we used to call as, what we used to call is known as abortion, or we can say miscarriage. So this is all about what is the development of embryo. So from here, after this implementation, then further development of growth and development of baby, that is all we will study in the next class. And the next class we will try to finish what is the difference between this zygote, embryo and everything, as well as the further development called as fetus, and that all we will study in the next class. And as well as what is menstruation, we'll try to finish maximum by tomorrow. So after that only birth control. So with this I will stop the today's class. So till here everything is very very important. So from here we'll continue in the next class. Thank you everybody. Bye. We'll meet by 10 o'clock.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.